Good morning. My throat is not the best. I don't know what happened. I had my voice something was not quite right yesterday. And then this morning I couldn't speak at all. So this is amazing. I can say something. You might just have to lean in so you can hear me. That sounds weird in my ear. Is that?
It's a bit weird.
Yeah, all right.
But they can turn it up.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, and it is a few weeks ago now, I had a conversation with someone new. And you know how these conversations go, yeah? This person came up to me and said, "What do you do?" Typical question. Obvious question, yeah? I know I'm meant to say how I earn money. I know that because I always say skateboarding. To which the person always says, "You earn money from that?" No, but I have fun skateboarding. I try to do it as often as I can. Seems like the thing to say for me. I don't really want to have a conversation about how we earn money. I'd prefer to have a conversation about what we do for fun. However, me being me, a couple of weeks ago I thought that was a boring answer to give. So what I gave was, I think I spend my weeks asking God for forgiveness. To which the person said, "Do you earn money from that?" No. But then I thought a moment further, because bear in mind, this is a person I've never met before, yeah? You're now questioning whether they really want to talk to me. I thought a moment and I went, you know what? Do I spend my week asking God for forgiveness? Or do I spend my week, and this is what I came to, do I spend my week resting in the presence and blessing of my God? Because asking for forgiveness only has relevance and meaning if God is going to do something for me, yeah? And if he's capable of doing something for me, and if he's actually present and with me and able to forgive and bless in abundance, yeah? To which the guy goes, "I work in a bakery." We were off to a good start in our relationship with this dude. So, this morning, I'm speaking on a verse that I often overlook. It's one of those ones that's in the middle, yeah? It's like the middle child in a family. Yeah, I'm the eldest in my family, and there's lots of kids. This is my family of origin. So when my mum is like shouting at us when I was young, she still sometimes shouts at me, but when I was young, she would shout and go, "You kids, stop it," and then go through the list. She wouldn't forget my name, Michael. She wouldn't forget Jody, who's last. Sometimes, though, she would forget the one in the middle. Sometimes there'd be a new kid suddenly in our family, like Simon. We go, "Who's Simon?" And she'd go, just stop it, will you?" It gets overlooked, like that kid. So when you ask people about the Lord's Prayer, they very rarely forget the beginning. You know, "Our Father, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." They very rarely forget the end. "Forgive us our debts, forgive us our sins, as we also have forgiven our people who have sinned against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one," etc. They very rarely forget those ones. But there's that short one in the middle. And it's such a throwaway line, isn't it? "Give us today our daily bread." It's one of those ones, I think, in contemporary society, and I know for myself, I think, "God, you're busy. There's a lot in that prayer. I've got this one. You get on with the other ones." You know what I mean? Let's not presume too much on God. He's busy, he's got a lot to do. especially with me, about forgiving my sins. So concentrate on that one, and I'll get on with just, I've got the bread. You know, I can go down to the shop and buy some. I can even buy some from my mate. Yes, we've got that one. Let's just move on. But I think this is a problem, and maybe you think so too. It's a problem because I don't think that's the point of what Jesus is saying. Because bread's common. Bread was common back then. Don't think of like who Jesus is speaking to as a whole heap of people who can't afford to get bread. Bread's the common thing to eat. Meat's hard to come by. Vegetables are in a season. But bread is what everyone is eating every day. So just like us, the people back then are going, bread? We've got that one. Why do we need bread, dude? Like, give us today our daily degustation 10-meal course with matched wines. Don't give us bread. So what's Jesus' point? If we've got bread, and they've got bread, and Jesus is not saying much in this prayer. There aren't many things in the list, are there? But there's this short verse, give us today our daily bread. This has special relevance to me at the moment because I know it's the one verse in this prayer that I have to zero in on, because it's the one that I'm both overlooking and it's the one that I struggle to actually do, to actually pray, to actually mean it. Here's what I'm talking about. There's three things. The first one is that this is Jesus asking us to have a posture of relying on God for everything. And it starts with the small things. Have you heard that saying? That if you can't be trusted with the small things, you will not be given the big things. And if you cannot have a way of paying attention to how God is blessing you with the small things in life, how will you see, how will you even believe that the big things are possible? Do you hear what I'm saying? It starts with just the simple, small act. Let me give you a quick overview of this Sermon on the Mount in which this prayer is said in Matthew. I'm just going to read some verses, not the whole thing. But to start with these ones, this is Matthew 5. Blessed are the meek, those who are content with whatever they have, because this is the rest of the verse, for they will inherit the whole earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, hunger and thirst after God. Here's the rest of the verse. For they will be filled. Do you hear what's missing there though? There isn't a sub-verse there that says, blessed are those who are meek, and then work hard to get a whole heap of stuff, because then they will get the whole earth. That's not in the middle there. Blessed are those who know they will rely on God, because they're not going to earn it. They're going to be blessed with it. Jump to verse 11 in 6, which is, give us today our daily bread. And then jump over to 6, this is in Matthew 6:19. These are all very close together in this. If you were there hearing it, these verses are all very close together in just what Jesus is saying. Verse 19. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and vermin destroy, where thieves break in and steal it, where you can lose it. Store up for yourselves treasures with God in heaven. Allow that to be your posture, where moths and vermin cannot destroy, where thieves cannot break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Daily bread. The posture here is to rely on God and start with the small things. Don't miss it. I have a thing that I do. I'm not very good at saying grace. That takes regular memory. I don't have that. Doesn't seem like I've got memory at the moment, but I tend to miss that one. But what I can do and what I do is I have a posture of thanking God for coffee, because I don't have many coffees in a day. But here's what I do with coffee, and this is why I mention it to you. It's much more than me saying, thank you, God, for giving me coffee. It is a posture of saying, this is precious to me. I value it. And then it's also a posture that if you have coffee with me, I'm highly likely to buy you coffee, because I also want to understand that what God is giving to me daily and what he is blessing me with, I have the ability as a follower of Jesus to give it away. And it's something that I can do on a regular basis, because I meet with people quite often and I both receive it from God, thank you for this blessing of coffee, and then give it away. That's my posture. It helps me to have a posture of going, I rely on you, God, for all things, but especially starting with the small things. This is why also that Luke will jump ahead. I'm jumping to Acts 2 now. It's why also Luke will use this language, yeah? They devoted themselves. This is Luke speaking. This is Acts 2, starting at verse 42. It says this, these are all new believers, apostles included, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs being performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and they had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give away to those in need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts, and they broke bread in their homes, and they ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. Hear the language there, yeah? It's deliberate. Of all the things that he could say, all the things that he could use, he's using bread again. And it's that way of knowing that you're being blessed by God, relying on God for these small things, receiving it and giving it away. Did they have bread because they sold all their possessions? Maybe they could afford it, of course. But that's not what they were saying. That's not what Luke records here. It's that they are relying on God for all things, and this bread that they're giving, this bread they're receiving, is from that reliance. The other part of that is, I hear a lot of Christians nowadays say, where are those signs and wonders today? It was happening then. Why is it not a part of it now? Is it, though, that they're not happening, or is it that we don't see what's happening? And is it that we don't see what's happening because that's a bigger thing than just being thankful and relying on God for the small, simple things like bread? Start with the bread. Start with relying on God and saying, I am so thankful that you have given me this bread to eat today, this coffee to enjoy. I'm so thankful for the small things. Help me to have that posture of being thankful for the small things, so that when there are slightly bigger things, I will pay attention to that as well. And I will be thankful for what you are doing in that space. I've been thinking about all of these things in the last couple of weeks, in particular because we live in a country that has abundance on tap, doesn't it? I'm not saying that we're all millionaires. I'm just saying that we live in a country that is very blessed, compared to many countries around the world. I heard people coming back from Israel, they were interviewed at the airport, having returned to Australia from Israel this week, and many of them just came into the airport and just breathed. Just that simple blessing of not hearing bombs going off around them. It's hard to picture, isn't it? And then my mind went to a post by John Dickson. John Dickson is an Australian theologian, author, among other things. He now works at Wheaton College, Bible College in the States. He teaches church history. And a couple of months ago, he wrote this post on Facebook. I just want to read it to you, yeah? It's not very long. I'm going to read the whole thing just as he said it, yeah? I teach a class here at Wheaton on the history of Christianity, focused on the first 1,000 years. One thought haunts me. We are right to look with shock and disappointment at the way medieval Christians accepted violence as the norm. It seems clear that in seeking to convert European warrior societies, Christians themselves were converted to a martial ideology in clear contradiction to the teachings of Jesus. We see this with clarity today. We even question whether those violent medieval Christians could have been real Christians at all. But I am equally struck by how medieval Christians wholeheartedly obeyed Jesus' call to shun wealth and pursue charity to all. They said the one who does not show material mercy and does not give to those in need has not known the divine mercy towards their sin. And they pursued this ideal with great passion and success. For me, this is the most striking part of medieval Christian church history. So here's the thought that haunts me. Without denying that we are right to condemn medieval Christians for their acceptance of violence, I wonder if they would have every right to rise up and condemn modern Western Christians for the way that we accept the pursuit of wealth, pleasure, and comfort as norms. They might say that in seeking to convert modern materialistic societies, we ourselves have been converted to a materialistic ideology. They might even wonder if we are real Christians. I hope not. I like to think not. But when I teach the history of Christianity, I find myself and my students condemning those medieval Christians for their violence and having this nagging anxiety about my own wealth, pleasure, and comfort. For me, it's powerful about the daily bread comment, because I want to say how bad these nations are for wanting to fight one against the other. And I want to say how they've lost faith and how they've lost God's heart in doing that. But like John Dickson, this week at least, I've thought of how I feel about that and wondered, should I not feel that same pressure back on myself about my own materialistic abundance chasing that I do? I wonder if they wouldn't look on me and question, are you a real Christian? We readily lament what happens in war-torn societies, but I wonder if we shouldn't also lament how we are so blinded by our abundance that we do not even acknowledge God for the simple bread that we have to eat each day. I'm reminded especially of that because I think bread's a given the same way that I think speech is a given. And then this morning I woke up and I couldn't speak. And I think how quickly these things that I take for granted, that I think I'm making happen, that I think I'm in control of, can be just taken away in a flash, and how much I actually, really rely on God for the small things in life. So here's my final two thoughts. How long have I gone for? I've lost track of the time. Doesn't matter. I'll just keep going. I'll keep going until the voice runs out. How's that? Here's the last two things. They're related. This only has value because Jesus is both wanting us to ask and he is present to answer. This is a little bit further on in Matthew 7. Jesus is actually saying this to us. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, when your son asks for bread, hear the language again, when your son asks for bread, gives him a stone? If you know how to give good gifts, why do you not trust in God looking after you? This happens with my children. My children are not children anymore, they're young adults. It's so quick, I am so quick to forget that I can trust God, that I can ask for things and that he will give it to me. And my children have recently got into a similar pattern with me. When they were young and they wanted a biscuit, they would ask me to get a biscuit for them, or I would go and buy a biscuit and I would bring it to them, yeah? They asked, I gave. Not all the time. I didn't get a biscuit every day either, but I gave it to them some of the time, yeah? Now that they're young adults and they have money and they can drive a car and they know where the shops are, when they want a biscuit, they go and buy it. On one level, that's fine. On another level, though, they stop asking me. And I recently had an incident where my son then questioned whether he could... I must be tired. Why am I crying at that? Where my son didn't want to ask me for something that he needed, that he couldn't make happen for himself. It was troubling to me how often I have blessed him and how quickly he forgot that he could ask for something. So this is Jesus' other thing to do with, give us today our daily bread. Don't lose sight of just the simple act of asking for the things that you need. Don't miss it. Get in the habit of asking and then thanking. Asking God for the coffee. Asking God for the means to buy a coffee for myself and to be able to give it away. Acknowledge that that happened under the blessing of who God is. Have a posture of noticing and paying attention to that, yeah? And the last point is that all of this is possible because God's actually present. This is not theory. It's not. These are not wise words. This is not wisdom written down in a book that we can just recite and go, it is good to be thankful for your daily bread. It's not wisdom like that. This is Jesus saying, your God, me, Spirit, we are powerfully present in your life. In 2023, we are able to give and bless you with the small things like bread and the big things like healing and the even bigger things like change Tasmania and our world, to reach into conflict around our world and bring peace. We are able to do these things. Invite us in, ask, and it will be given. Knock, the door will be opened. But don't miss asking. Don't miss our presence. Pay attention to it. It's in front of you. We are here, but you need to pay attention and see, because that's the thing, isn't it? You can't pay attention to all things. You can't. You pay attention, you see what you pay attention to. This is how magic works. You tricks you with the right hand over here, that's my left hand, and it does something on the other side, yeah? It's so easy in our culture to miss what God is capable of doing because we have so much. Don't let the tricks of Western society and the abundance that we are blessed with allow you to lose sight of what God is actually capable of, because what he wants from us is faith. Faith where we rely on him to do the things that we can't. But it absolutely starts with believing in the small things. Trusting that he can provide bread and then receiving it and going, thank you. It starts with the small. But you do not ask God for the massive things in your life if you have not got that trust and that faith and that muscle of faith worked over the small things. I know it for myself. I'm wrestling with a few things at the moment. I know in myself that this week, and this is terrible timing with God, isn't it, to put this on me while I'm trying to prepare for a sermon, but I know I've been wrestling with this week where I know I am trying to control my life and I'm trying to control finances. I'm trying to control so that I feel safe and I feel secure and I've got everything that I know I need. I'm trying to do that. I'm busting a gut to do that at the moment. And at the same time, God's going, you complete idiot. God speaks pretty harshly to me sometimes. You complete idiot. You had a massive faith moment just 6 years ago that brought you to Tasmania. And I have provided for you at every moment of the journey since then, in abundance. And you still can't have faith for the next, I'm using my voice. You still can't have faith for the next step. Are you for real? This is how God speaks to me. Yeah, it's part of rapper. This is the prayer though. This is the whole prayer. So I want to end with us reading the prayer. And what I'm actually asking you to do is to think through those three things. The simple things in life that God's giving you, that you ask. Because this prayer has ask all the way through it. Not just for bread, but for forgiveness, for keeping us away from temptation. Make it a genuine ask. And then presence. It starts with our Father who is in heaven, but that phrase means who is in everything. He's not distant. He's not up there and not down here. He is everywhere. So if you're being bold this morning, replace heaven with our Father who is everywhere. I don't want you to say it out loud, but I do want you to spend a moment saying it in your head as a prayer over yourself. And then I'll hand over to Stephen.
Thanks, Michael. It's a good prayer, isn't it? It's a great prayer. And as we've said a few times, we say it glibly because we say it often. And yet the depth of the prayer, well, it's hit me again as you've wrestled with it, Michael, and been quite open with your own journey with it. So thank you. Got a few questions here. We'll see how you go answering them. It's not always easy to answer them on the spot, so we'll see how it goes.
If I don't like it, I'm just going to fake no voice.
Okay. So I think this is one, you were talking about asking God for bread as, well, it's already there, but being grateful, but all the rest of it. So this is an interesting question from someone. So why ask daily for what God already knows I need? Isn't that a lack of faith?
It's a good question. For me, it's a pay attention question. What Jesus is asking us to do is focus on God. Don't lose sight of it. If you do it daily, I'm terrible at daily routines. So bad. I have to be better than that because I have to take medication daily. I'm still bad at it. However, this is what Jesus is saying, yeah? Do it daily because pay attention to what God is doing every day. See where he is, what he's up to. Make that your gaze. Everything else will go good. It's much more than just, this is the thing with Jesus, isn't it? It is bread, and it's way more than bread. But he knows absolutely that if we pay attention to what God's doing every day, that's going to be a good day.
Yeah. So this person says, so it sounds like you're saying you're talking about praying with an idea of reliance and a sense of God's already provided. So I think the question they're asking is, it sounds like it's an attitude that you're talking about, the way in which you pray this prayer. Is that right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, I used the word posture.
Posture.
More than attitude, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like, if God already knows that we need it, and He's willing to give it, and it's not hard to get, the bit that's missing in the middle there is us actually being thankful and paying attention to what God's doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's so easy for us to walk out and get, as it was back then, so easy for them to go and get the bread. That's not the thing though. It's the paying attention to God. He knows we need it. He even wants to give it. But the bit there in the middle is us, isn't it? Can we have a posture, a humble posture of saying, I am not going to be the one that makes this happen today. I'm going to rely on God. Now I need God to show up.
Yeah. So what that's doing for me as you say that is, so often we can pray, give us this day our daily bread from a sense of scarcity or paucity, rather than what I'm hearing you're saying is coming and praying it from a sense of reliance, of abundance and God's goodness, which has already been in the first part of the prayer. Hey Dad, hallowed be your name. And so it really is coming from a sense of not being outside of the family, please could you do this, but being inside the family going, oh, okay Dad, this is how life is. So I'm just getting the idea what you're saying of the posture, the place that you're praying this prayer from and what's in your heart as you pray it has got a big bearing on the way in which you look at God and the way in which you sit in the world.
Yeah, if you go back to the Genesis series that you had before this year, and we're talking about some Christians have grown up with this belief that God's ready to get rid of us, that He hates us, that He's ready to strike us down, sort of thing. I don't read that in Scripture, but some people have that as a view. But if you have the different view that I have, that I think is in Scripture, that God's heart is actually for us, He's looking for ways to bless us, that posture then, when you come to this verse, is give us today our daily bread, because I do need it, but I know you want to give it. And I'm relying on your heart being for me to receive it. It's not it's not scared asking. That's not what Jesus is saying in any of those verses. He's just saying, ask. Ask and it will be given. Ask and I will do it. And even you know how to give good gifts. I know how to do it even better. Just ask. Pay attention. Ask. I'll give it.
Thanks. So this last question then. Would you say, this is more general, that the Lord's Prayer is like the perfect prayer in terms of balance? And so how does seeking our daily bread keep in balance the way we should live? Does it in that way?
Well, how could I not, given that Jesus said it? I'd like a little bit more rhyming.
Yep.
No. I don't know.
But thanks, Michael. I think it's underlined, when Matt and I started to think about, wouldn't it be good to do this as a series? I don't think we saw the depth and the profoundness of what it's actually talking about, and how you've really this morning helped us to see afresh, actually the way I position myself, my posture, my attitude as I pray these prayers actually has a big bearing. And Jesus is wanting us to see how to pray this as He prayed it, which comes from the idea of a loving God who wants to provide for us. I just think that's really profound. Thank you so much for that. And I trust that for you it's been profound. It has for me. God's speaking to me about the way in which I perceive of God and God's love and God's grace for me has a profound impact on the way I pray these prayers. God is a God of great love, of amazing abundance. Jenny and I were driving down back from Longford yesterday, thinking about God's abundance to us. And Jenny said, just look at how many blades of grass we can see at the moment. Must be millions of them. God likes abundance. And look at the leaves. How many leaves on the tree can we see? God is a God of an amazing abundance that he wants to share with you and I. What amazing life it is that we live.